Our next guest is a man who epitomizes public service and private sector success. That shouldn't surprise us, since he attended American Legion Hoosier Boys State. He later served as Chief of Staff to Senator Richard Lugar, a senior advisor to President Reagan, and OMB Director under President George W. Bush. He continued his results-oriented leadership as a top executive of Eli Lilly and Company, including as president of its North American pharmaceutical operations. During his 2 highly successful terms as Indiana governor, this state went from an $800 million deficit to its first AAA credit rating. He passed sweeping education and healthcare reforms, and Indiana led the nation in infrastructure building. As president of Purdue University, he fostered an environment that is welcoming of veterans. Under his leadership, the university has not increased tuition since 2012, and student borrowing has dropped 33%, while investments in student success and STEM research have undergone unprecedented growth. Amazingly, it is less expensive to attend Purdue University today than it was in 2012. He holds a bachelor's degree from Princeton's Woodrow Wilson School of Public and International Affairs and a law degree from Georgetown. It is my pleasure to present the 2019 American Legion Patriot Award to former Indiana Governor and current Purdue University President, Mitchell E. Daniels, Jr.
The American Legion Patriot Award presented to Mitchell E. Daniels, Jr. for staunch advocacy of patriotic values during your career of public service. A graduate of the American Legion Boys State program, your innovative ideas have had major impacts in the business, political, and academic communities. After serving in the administrations of President Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush, you were elected to 2 successful terms as the 49th governor of Indiana. During your time as governor, you visited U.S. military troops deployed overseas, appeared at Blue Star Salute events, and met with Gold Star family members. As president of Purdue University, you froze tuition and created a veteran-friendly campus with a thriving Reserve Officer Training Corps program. You maintain a seat as a valued member of the American Legion 100th Anniversary Honorary Committee. On behalf of the 2 million members of the American Legion, thank you for your patriotism and service to America. Presented this 28th day of August 2019 at the 101st National Convention of the American Legion in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Morning, everybody. You know, in the last couple jobs I've had, in particular, you get a lot of awards you probably don't deserve, and I think this is another one of those occasions. But I cannot tell you what it means to me to be with you and to have this opportunity to express my own gratitude to this organization and to all the individuals who made it up over all the years. My first exposure to the American Legion was to one of the earliest, I should say, Legionnaires, PFC Russell Wilkes, U.S. Army 1917 and 18. My grandfather took me to the Legion Hall many, many times in Monongahela, Pennsylvania. Other relatives took me to their own halls. I saw this organization always as one of the great emblems of our country and great assets of our country. Later in life, I got a chance to meet hundreds, maybe thousands of today's younger Legionnaires. In my last job, I always said that of all the things we were involved in, far and away my #1 responsibility was the support of the Indiana National Guard. Technically, I guess it's Commander-in-Chief. And during those 8 years happened to coincide with the 8 largest deployments of the Indiana National Guard, other than World War II, in its history, and sadly with the largest number of casualties. The adjutant general for all those 8 years had my cell phone on his speed dial, vice versa, and I confess that every time his number came up, I held my breath a minute or two. 24 of those calls were the ones I feared, where we had lost someone, and then subsequently there were 24 of the most difficult days in that otherwise rather joyful assignment to honor and say goodbye to those that we had lost. But my most vivid encounter with this great organization of yours was for 6 indelibly memorable days in 1966, Hoosier Boys State. Subsequently, through someone's selection, on to Boys Nation, and another week of fascinating learning. And the thought I want to leave with you, the reason I was so especially glad for the chance to spend these couple minutes with you this morning, was that I just, as important and as valuable as the programs like that have been, and the example that the Legion sets has been, we've never needed it more than today. Back at that time, our country had its arguments and had its divisions, but in general, Americans were patriotic, they were grateful, they understood how incredibly fortunate we all have been to live in this country and the freedoms that we enjoy. You may have seen within the last 2 weeks a very disturbing survey which showed that from a number like in the 70% range in the 90s, undoubtedly 80 or 90% when I was a student, a young person, a Boys State attendee, the percentage of Americans now saying that patriotism is a very important thing to them has fallen to 60%, and among our young people to 40%. I don't blame the young people for that. Many of them, even among the brightest that we welcome at our school and at other places, are, however much they may know about other things, have not been taught much about American history. In some cases, they've been mistaught, and they don't know much about our civic traditions. And so it's not their fault that they don't have as much appreciation as they should for the wonders that this country has meant to the world and for the great gift it has given to each of us. Ignorance of that kind can lead to ingratitude, and in combination, those are two very dangerous character traits for a country of free people trying to govern themselves. So, I just want to, of course, I want to say thank you for this award. I told Commander Reistad, whosever idea it was, please don't fire them. Their judgment won't fail them often. But more so even for the chance to say, to encourage you to press on. The example of this organization, individuals in your communities, what you represent in your local communities. I was in every Legion Hall in this state, I promise you, during the 10 years I served it or sought to. But what you do as a national organization, all these things have always been, throughout your century, an incredibly important part of American life, never more so than today. Thank you, and God bless this great Legion of yours.